I figured you do, so I should do.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Marcus here at Amada. We're going to get started in just a little bit. We're just at 1 past the hour, so just give us 30 seconds here. We'll get started. We have folks joining right now, so we'll start here in just a minute. Thank you so much for joining, guys. We'll be right back. All right, let's get started, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me. This is Marcus here at Amada Senior Care. Thank you so much for making the time to join us and to meet with Kevin and Kelly Fehr. I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much. And in fact, Kelly and Kevin and I were just talking a little bit ago about the crazy fireworks. I've been hearing from folks all over the country that it's just been different wherever you are. Here in California, almost everything got canceled, but I think Californians just said, hold my beer. And we put our own display of fireworks, and it was absolutely crazy. It was probably one of the coolest fireworks shows I've ever seen, because as we were driving as it was going on, and it was just going off everywhere. Kelly, do you want to tell us what your celebration was like out there in Nashville?
So locally, we had we live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. And usually the city sets off a big display. They moved it so it wasn't quite visible from our house anymore. We have a second floor balcony, and from there, everywhere you looked, there was fireworks going off. We had neighbors setting them off at the bottom of our driveway. Luckily, everyone still has their fingers. It was pretty. A lot of mess to clean up the next day, but we're good.
Man, it was absolutely crazy. So, guys, I hope that your 4th of July was fun and exciting and great, and you're able to spend time with your families. Thank you so much for joining us. So today, it's really just a unscripted call for you guys to meet Kevin and Kelly Fehr and to ask questions. So I'll kick off and just quick introduction here, and then have the Fehrs talk about how they started their business, a little bit about themselves and their backgrounds. And then really it's your time to ask questions. And so a couple ways that you can ask questions. One is to go to the question box in the GoToWebinar panel. We have that open, and you can ask your questions there. Also, you can go into your name on I think it's in the audience or right there where you're listed, and you can raise your hand. So if you raise your hand, what I'll do is I'll try to unmute you, and then you can ask a question live. What's great about being able to ask a question live is you can have a follow-up question, get more nuance in there. And so we really do want to hear from you guys. And again, this is your time to be able to ask any questions that you may have. So let's get started. Kevin and Kelly Fehr joined us in December of 2014. And here's what's important about that date is we started franchising in 2012. In 2012, we only had 2 franchise partners join us. Both of them were friends of ours. And so people that we already knew. And in 2013, it was probably another 8 entrepreneurs or so. So by 2014, I mean, you guys were some of our earliest franchise partners. And so you've seen this company grow. You've been here since just about the very beginning. And so Kevin and Kelly, can you guys give us a little bit about your background, and then tell us how you ran into Amada Senior Care?
So I think Kevin would be a real good person to kind of get this kicked off. He was the reason why we are where we are. His grandfather lived to be 102. He had round-the-clock home care. We saw the benefit that would give to his grandfather, the family, everyone involved. In 2014, while working for the pharmaceutical company Merck, they announced layoffs. Kevin raised his hand, took the severance, and introduced me to Amada. I was skeptical to say the least, but he was confident this is the direction. He showed me all of his research, all of the due diligence, and we signed up. So
yeah, I mean, I think what it came down to, Marcus, was I knew that home care and or hospice was the area that I wanted to extend my professional career, having served almost 14 years in the pharmaceutical sector. When I kind of landed on home care itself, we got to a place where I just started researching companies. And, I think it goes without saying, but we picked the best company. And it really got to be at a place and a time where Amada just offered things that other home care companies didn't. And that was part of my due diligence and doing my research. And, we took a flyer. And I think now 4 franchises later, in 2 different states, I think it was a good choice for us.
Yeah, so you guys started there in Tennessee, but actually you didn't live in Tennessee at the time. You guys were in Baltimore, or where were you?
Yeah, we were in
Virginia.
Charlottesville, Virginia area. Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy kind of thing that unfolded. We were looking at that. We had everything all mapped out. The franchise partner in Richmond revised his territory. And, it was like, okay, I guess we're not doing it then. And I called my dad, who live in just outside Nashville. They're like, what about Nashville? So we actually, we were licensed before training. So it was, we were.
Yeah. It was a big move for you guys. I mean, we're talking not just starting a business, but it was getting into still healthcare, but a new industry for you guys. Kelly, you had and still have your other business. You also moved states. Can you tell us just how hard was that? Doing the move, starting a business. What was that like?
Well, there was a lot of logistics that had to happen. So, fortunately, my business, which was 99% web-based, I was able to move that. So that really was what, I put every bit of my effort in the early months into that to help, keep the Fehr family afloat. We're starting off in a new business in a new town, not knowing a soul. While Kevin, he started, and, it was a little challenging. I think Kevin's challenges were greater just being that, where do you start? It's not like you could even tap into your own personal networks. We didn't have any. So, I think that was a unique challenge. But I think his networks are pretty strong at this point. So.
Yeah, it's just about, we talk about the entrepreneurial spirit and the mentality. We loved going into a geography where we didn't know anybody and they didn't know us, and we could kind of spread our wings. And, for the first year of running our business, I was out from sunrise to sunset and beyond, just talking with people, just meeting people. And I'm not saying people in the home care industry or healthcare per se. We were meeting with, people in banking and people at the Chamber of Commerce, and, just getting our brand out there, which is one of the joys that I love heading up our business development. I love the concept of branding and growing a brand. And so, it was a pretty cool experience. I'm certainly glad we are where we are now, and it's not back then, but it's also nice to see, how the things have progressed, and I wouldn't have done it any other way.
So you start the business there, you move your family. In that first year of running the business, what do you think was the most challenging part? 'Cause that's what a lot of folks on the line today are thinking about embarking in that first year. So what was the most challenging thing to starting the business in that first year?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it is just a flat out tough thing to do. I will say this. So, Marcos and Tim Valencia, you guys became really, not only friends, but somebody, people that we could tap into at Amada if I had a very simple or elementary question. And those friendships, they last a lifetime, right? And so I'm extremely complimentary to Amada and AFI with who the caliber people are that we could access. But, I think the hardest thing was just, how do you dissect and understand your local market? Okay. How do you assess your competition? How do you develop competitive differentiators? How do you position yourself in a way that you can bring value, right? And you're not just a commodity. And, a lot of that is just trial and error. And I'd say 90% of the things that I tried in my first year, we probably weren't successful at. But the 10% that we were allowed us to build a pretty great business moving forward.
And I think also too is, there are so many, home care agencies that pop up and fizzle away. A lot of people are willing to give the new kid on the block a chance because they do have such negative experiences with a lot of other home care companies. And, there's so much that is taught through AFI and the training. But really what it comes down to, your customer service has to be the best. Because all of the other factors are the same. The caregivers are the same. You just have to be better. And they'll keep coming to you. So, and it's that, give me that first chance and we just show you what we can do.
Yeah. And to get the new kid on the block to be given a chance, I think is what you talked about, Kevin, right? It's really literal that first year, it's a grueling Monday through Saturday, probably. And just getting in front of as many people as possible. I mean, it literally, you have to do that, right? That's not just, it was really hard. I mean, you really did get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, given the new landscape, during our global pandemic and the aftermath of that, our industry and marketing is going to change. And I don't have an answer. I mean, obviously every geography is going to be different. But the fundamental ways in which we have done traditional referral source calling, that is going to change, post COVID-19. So we're all kind of bracing for that, and we all are trying different things, but it's going to be an interesting time in our industry.
So, and that's a really good point. What would you say to folks that are looking at this business now? And we talk about that we are an essential business, our caregivers are still working, people still need the care. But what's your advice for folks that are looking to start the business now in this COVID environment?
Well, from my perspective, we are dedicated to helping families. We are dedicated to helping seniors. And COVID or not COVID, seniors are still going to need help and they're still going to need care, right? So if you're the type of business owner that has a mindset that's grounded in core values and you live to those core values, you should not be intimidated by the fact that, hey, there's a global pandemic, right? There are ways that you can recreate yourself. There's ways that you can do things to get out there to apply help to help one more family. So, it's not, the biggest challenge in our industry, and you get every franchise owner in every franchise system will tell you this, it's infrastructure, right? It's getting caregivers. And
right.
I'll say that during the last, 3 months or so with COVID, that has slowed down for us. So in other words, there's a couple factors that go into that, but there's a lot of people aren't necessarily wanting to get into healthcare right now. A lot of people are living off the government unemployment benefits that are being afforded to them. And that's been a challenge. But, we at Amada Nashville and up in Pennsylvania, we're coming up with, creative ways to get people into our business so we can help more families.
And also, Kevin, we talked a little bit about the charity that you set up and why you decided to do that.
Yeah, so I had the honor of 2 years ago starting a nonprofit organization, and we call that CommuniServe. And CommuniServe was set up because Amada Senior Care works with the local VA hospitals in our area, and we are a preferred provider with the VA. We've identified that there is a donut hole, if you will, with care for seniors. So the federal government would pay on average maybe 8 to 10 hours a week, and that individual might need 25 or 30 hours a week. So we started CommuniServe with the intention of getting community leaders. We have a board of directors. We have a full-time executive director. That's our responsibility, is to secure funding. We take that funding, we integrate with home care companies in the area, and we provide free home care to veterans when they leave the VA hospital and they can't afford it. So we act as both the funding source and the caregiver network, to help them. And I just felt compelled to do it because nobody has done anything like this. And I wanted to just say, hey, there's veterans that need our help, and that's how we started CommuniServe. You can check it out. It's communiservenashville.org.
That's really cool. And has it, there's always an altruistic reason to do it. Has it also increased your Amada business? And I don't even know if that was your goal, is that by that awareness to increase your Amada business, but how has the relationship affected your for-profit business, or has it at all?
Yeah, so the core value that I'll say is we never forget that our services are for the seniors. They're not for the profits, ... The more we remember this, the more the profits follow. And truer words have never been said. As a collateral effect of launching CommuniServe, Amada in our local market has taken off substantially. We are now the #1 rated home care company, not only in the county that we serve, where our home office is, but in several counties around us as well. So our reputation took off. Financially, we probably doubled our number of clients post CommuniServe, but that wasn't the intention of us doing CommuniServe. Our intention was to help veterans who need help.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, guys, listen, this is your time to ask questions. I don't have any questions in the question box, but guys, please, if you have any questions, you can type them into the question box. We'll read them off. You can also just raise your hand and I will unmute you, which I would love to hear from you guys. And the Fehrs, of course, would appreciate any questions that you guys have. Let me move over while folks are thinking about their questions. We talk a lot about this differentiation strategy where we focus on these payers and mainly long-term care insurance and VA. And listen, I remember when we first started franchising that I was talking to Chad Fotheringham about this differentiation. And I said, that's it? That really, just the fact that you do long-term care insurance and that we file the claims, the fact that we advocate for veterans, it felt like that would be something that most competitors would also do. So can you talk a little bit about how did that differentiation impact your ability to build your business there in Tennessee?
So, there definitely is that component. That's a lot of what Kevin speaks to when he goes to different referral sources. But while that is huge and a huge benefit for our clients, one of the biggest criticism of our local market, and I think is such a huge hole, is the customer service portion of what we can promise. In Tennessee, for example, they background check. We do far and above beyond that what the state requires. That right there is, if someone doesn't have long-term care insurance, it's not a differentiator for them. So what else can we kind of throw in there? What is important? The background checks being one, the promise of customer service, our technology that we have as far as knowing that a caregiver is there, the geo fence. They can't clock in unless they're on premises. And what's going to happen if no one shows up? So if someone calls and doesn't have long-term care insurance, you got to have more in your back pocket and follow through with it. So, Kevin, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, and again, you'll hear me say, and I'm proud to say that not only are we an A+ rated company by the Better Business Bureau, and we're A+ verified through the Home Care Standards Bureau, to be rated #1 in multiple counties in which you serve, I mean, there's literally 50-some home care companies in those areas. That's a big responsibility. And the point that Kelly made about the attention to detail in how we hire our staff, criminal background checks, the training that we do, everything from A to Z. That's really how you get out and make your brand known.
I love it. Hey, this is actually really interesting. Ali and Dave Blasco, thank you for joining us. And Michelle and Jordan, they both individually asked, how do you balance business and family life? And this is actually, both folks are looking at starting a business together with husband and wife. So what's it like, guys? How do you balance working together and family life? Can you talk about that?
Sure. So it's really stressful, especially in the beginning. So I would love to paint a beautiful story for you. I will tell you that it was incredibly stressful, especially that first year to year and a half. About that first 18 months, the suggestion, I think what helped save Kelly and I, both professionally and personally, was we divided our responsibilities and we let each subject matter expert do their own thing. Okay, so for instance, I mean, I serve as our president and CEO. I'm responsible for business development and business development only. Kelly serves as our chief operating officer, and she is responsible for everything operationally. So I don't blur her lane. She doesn't blur mine. I get the clients.
Mostly.
Well, it was a lot better than what it was in the beginning before we had defined boundaries. So
right.
That's my biggest word of advice. And the other biggest word of advice is when you go home, try not to talk about the business, right? Try to, be with the kids, do whatever, because the business is always going to be there and you're always going to be getting calls at crazy hours at night. And, you really have to make a dedicated effort that say, hey, Amada's done for the day. Okay, we'll get back to it tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that, even operationally here in the office, everyone who works with us has very clear job roles. And so, for Kevin and I, you've got to stay in your lane. I'm not going to tell him how to market. He's not going to tell me how to, operations. Now, we can have conversations surrounding it, and, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. But at the end of the day, we each have our own responsibilities.
I love that. And I'll say personally, knowing you guys and spending time with you guys, we've traveled together and seen you guys there in Tennessee, and you're some of the most affectionate, loving people I have ever met with each other. And my opinion, I think that is a lot of it. Like when you guys are not just in the business, but out having fun, you really do have fun with each other. I think you enjoy each other's company. And I think that is huge, right? Between husband and wife, you guys really do like spending time with each other.
And we respect each other, and that's, and respect each other's judgment, professionally, personally. I kind of like him a little bit.
So now you mentioned a little bit about your staff, and there's a question from Ali about, go back to the early years, that first year, and it's just the two of you, just getting started. And again, I think I mentioned earlier, but Kelly, you have your jewelry business. And so now in that first year, how soon did you hire staff, and what was that first person that you hired, and what were they doing for you?
The first person hired was was operations. So was my sister. She basically was a 3-in-1: scheduling, recruiting, billing, payroll. I have 4. All of those things. Because in the very beginning, my focus was so much on the jewelry business, I wasn't too involved. I helped with recruiting. I maybe put an invoice or 2 together, but it really was Kevin Market, and there was the 3-in-1. One of the hardest parts, especially in the beginning, when you're starting to get clients and you're starting to get caregivers, a lot of untried and true new hire caregivers, the after hours on call is taxing. You're trying to have family dinner and the phone's ringing and there's a call out or a no-show. So fortunately in the early months, that was not on Kevin as much. I would definitely help out with the on-call, which was a little challenging because I wasn't as every day into it. And then in May of 2017, my sister stepped off. I slid on in, and at that point we had a recruiter. We had, I think it was 2 recruiters at the time, because again, recruiting's tricky. And just really to where we are now, where with the 2 locations, we have 2 schedulers, we have HR, we have recruiters, we have multiple marketers. So it's, once you start gaining in staff, in my opinion, the after hours portion is a little bit easier because we're out of the equation at this point. So.
Got it. Okay. So really it sounds like so December of 2014, you signed a franchise agreement, you start operating in 2015. And in that first year, your sister was that first hire in that first year.
Correct.
Got it. And now, currently, how big is your staff?
As far as caregivers or office staff?
Yeah.
Office staff.
So, again, keep in mind having the 2 locations for franchises. We have a dedicated Nashville scheduler, and then we have a dedicated Pennsylvania Philly scheduler who, because that location is not quite as large, helps out my Nashville. I have a scheduler for Nashville. Now that we're ramping up a little bit more, is looking to get the Pennsylvania recruiter and a human resources. That is basically his job, is to make sure that everyone stays compliant. So, which is a job in and of itself.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, we have 2 folks who are out as community relations folks, helping me with the marketing and signing up clients. And so we're about 7 or 8 full-time people, I guess. And then, upwards of 100 caregivers, give or take. I mean, it just kind of depends on the week, but it's pretty consistent there.
Well, between the 2 locations, a little more than that, but yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. Now, I know that as the business has challenges, it also has the things that fill your bucket, right? The things that make it worthwhile. And I always try to tell folks that are, what's that?
Too many to count. So grateful.
Yeah. And that's the gratitude. I think I always tell folks that I think when you look for a business, any business, there's going to be things that drive you crazy in every business. Doesn't matter what you start, what you do, even if it's the dream you had as a child and you're doing that now, there's going to be stuff that just drive you crazy. And hopefully in your business, there's going to be things that are the big payoffs. And not to romanticize this, but can you talk a little bit about that balance, right? Because the things that drive you crazy and the things that are the big payoffs. And I guess for you guys, what are those? What are the things that make the business the payback that it is?
Well, I think that when you look at someone's life in a whole, and a lot of times, let's talk about an obituary, for example. It's summarizing someone's life in 3 paragraphs, and the amount of times Amada Senior Care in Nashville has been mentioned in obituaries, that's kind of telling. I just got goosebumps.
That's cool.
We have had caregivers as honorary pallbearers. I don't know if I can get through this without crying. One of our clients said to our caregiver, I've had a lot of best friends in my life, and I'm honored that I can call you my last best friend. Like, come on now.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And we did that. We are the vehicle to put those people together, and it just, hey, there's a balance. They're not all going to be sweet, and there's going to be some tough ones. We have them, but you know what? You just have to look at that impact that you made on those lives, and your efforts and your dedication and your decision led those people to come together. That to me makes me feel wonderful about what we do.
Yeah, I mean, our mission statement is enriching lives, right? And the lives go just beyond the clients themselves. Of course, we're going to enrich their life, but having sons and daughters being sons and daughters again and not caregivers is something that you can't put a price tag on, especially when it's, mom or dad's final weeks or days. It's a really cool thing that when you go home at night, you did something good.
Yeah. And I know for you guys, that's really the payback, right? Is the difference you make in the community. The caregivers, hiring caregivers, finding caregivers, training them and keeping them is a full-time job. Can you talk about what that is like and managing that army that's always growing, challenges and the bad and the good of it?
Well, one of the biggest things, and I'm on the recruiting and retention team at Amada, is someone who is valued or feels valued will do so much more. So many of these caregivers are coming to us saying that, the office just worked me to death. I didn't appreciate me. We tone in how our office staff or anyone in our organization talks to a caregiver is hugely important. Ensuring that they feel respected, thanked. Part of my HR gentleman's job is he has to send out birthday cards, thank you cards. We make sure that they are acknowledged when they do something above and beyond or just doing their job. We have Caregiver of the Month. We have Caregiver of the Year. We submit them to AFI for National Caregiver of the Month, National Caregiver of the Year. I want my caregivers to know that we know that they are the backbone of what we do. I think if you lose sight of that, you will fail. And you won't just fail as a business. You're failing a lot of people. That being said, you're not going to have the best caregivers all the time. Making sure that, if you have policies and procedures, that you enforce them in a positive way. Hey, I know you're a great caregiver, your clients love you, but hey, let's clean this up. How do you address issues without reprimanding per se? Understanding that when we first started, I did something, we're going to have jobs for people. People are going to be lining up. Not the case. You have to differentiate yourself there as well. And you have to, make promises to your caregivers that they are going to be treated well and do it. And I want to be known as the best home care company to work for because trust me, there's a lot of choices for them as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they usually are registered with multiple firms, not just Amada, correct?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So I think for us, we have some that they want to just work for one. That's their goal. Because, if you think about it, they have Tuesday off and now they're getting calls from us, they're getting calls from them. They just want as many hours, get me close to 40 as you can. It's confusing for them as well.
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, you mentioned about the competition. So there's obviously tons of companies out there. Now all these years that you guys have been in operation, size up the competition for us, and that's just for your market. How good is the competition? How fierce is it? How busy is it? And how do you steal market share?
From a recruiting standpoint or sales standpoint?
Let's say in the sales standpoint.
Go on, Kevin.
Yeah, so sales, I think it's, I'll just speak for obviously our market. There are a couple very good companies. They are disciplined. They are well run. That's probably 10 to 15% of the business. An overwhelming majority of the business in our market are plug and chug companies, right? They're companies that, they'll do an intake over the phone. They'll send out a caregiver that has never, no rhyme or reason. And unfortunately, those are in the majority that we see. And unfortunately, the bad examples from them give the industry a bad name. So, I'm very respectful to every owner of every company that's out here. And there are some, quite frankly, that we give referrals to and vice versa. But we're only going to refer to companies that I know are good. And that's probably 1 out of every 4 or 5 companies here. So there's a lot of them. There is competition. But like we said at the beginning of this call, the care for seniors is only going to increase over time. The demand is always going to be there. Okay? It's just how do you position yourself to be in that elite group.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because that's what we hear from most franchise partners, that about 10, 15% are great companies and are companies you end up networking with and working with. And I love what you said, Kevin, that you said, I have a tremendous amount of respect for all these owners, right? And we hear that from everybody. Here in Orange County, we feel the same way. We have all these companies we compete against, and I couldn't say one bad thing about them. It's a very interesting community of home care companies. Okay, guys, let's see. Let me go back to questions here. So what would you say to what are some things that you wish you would have done different? Now looking back, when you started the business, what would you have done differently looking back?
I'm pretty grateful where we are.
Done differently. Well, I think some of our approaches to branding, the reality is, as a new franchise owner, you are going to hemorrhage money, spending money to get your brand out there. And that's just the reality of doing business, right? If you're in a newly created territory, people aren't going to know the brand Amada. They're going to call you Amanda. They're going to call you Armada. They're going to, they don't know you, and that's fine. I probably would have been a little more judicial in how I spent money. I was dumping money into, buying grocery store carts at the local grocery store with like an Amada thing on it. And, I did a lot of that, and we probably spent a little more money than we needed to, rather than just focusing on delivering a great product and let that be your branding.
Interesting. So not as much of the. Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
No, go ahead, Marcus.
Well, so you said not as much of the branding, more of the doing, servicing, and letting the word get out.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? So I had to get my brand out there. We have 4 or 5 company vehicles now that our employees use that are all wrapped in Amada, and the brand is out there. Everybody knows us, but again, we've been here 5.5 years, going on 5.5 years. So, we've earned that right. But in the beginning, you got to spend a lot of money. You got to also balance it with just great service. And I think me as a marketer, I was spending maybe perhaps too much money on the branding piece and not really honing in on delivering a great product, even though I think we did. It wasn't at the top of my mind.
And I think from a operations standpoint, one of the things that I wish we would have done way earlier is tap into the existing franchise partners and, figuring out what's working for them. I think that a lot of our growing pains could have been, and that learning curve could have really been shortened if I spent, a week with an existing partner. Because of that, how many people, I can't even count how many people have spent a day here in our office, explain to me your process, and, I am happily spend a day, like, let's go from nuts to bolts. This is our process. Is it exactly the way AFI suggests? No. Is it, grossly different? Also no. But every location is going to have, their best practices. And I wish I would have tapped into that a little sooner.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's really good advice. I agree with that. You learn so much from each other. We've learned so much from all of the franchise partners out there. I think that's fantastic advice.
Yeah, and when we started, there were only, 29 other franchise owners. So it was a small group.
And a lot of them were new, too.
Yeah. So we all kind of cut our teeth together, but, it was cool.
Yeah. And, you talked about something interesting, which is every single location does things a little bit different. And you've talked to one franchise partner, right? There's a lot to learn. And what I think is cool is what Kelly was just mentioning, I think is true for most of our franchise partners. As you guys come on board, and obviously respectfully as you reach out and you create a relationship, all of us are very willing to have you come out and spend time with us, because we just know how valuable that time can be. And I think that's thank you, Kelly, for that invite. And I think it could be extremely valuable, not just the training you get here from AFI, but also going out and meeting with our current franchise partners and spending time with them.
I think that kind of to that point, like when we were in training, there was so much information thrown at us, because you only have so much time, and until you're in the thick of it and you're doing it, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's what that was, and it's almost like kind of build your foundation and then get out there and meet some other franchise partners. And I think that, the idea too that, with meeting with so many of our partners over the years, there is truth in, we learn through teaching. So as I'm explaining my process, I'm writing notes down. Let's tweak that. That doesn't make a lot of sense right now, now that I say it out loud.
That's fascinating. Okay, guys, listen, we have had you for about 45 minutes. I want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience. And also want to thank everybody who was on the line with us, listening to the call. And so I want to just one final question for you guys, which is, what is your biggest piece of advice for anybody who's looking at starting a business right now and who's looking at Amada Senior Care? I'll start with Kevin, and then Kelly. Go ahead.
Yeah. So follow your heart, right? I have nothing but amazing things to say about the relationships that I've made with folks at Amada AFI, Amada Franchise Incorporated. The guys who you work with in the beginning are going to be your friends forever. And I think what a wonderful, if you're going to get into home care, there's not a better space to be than with Amada. And if you're not 100% sure this is what you want to do, then don't do it, right? You have to be all in, if you will. You have to put all your chips in the middle of the table and be willing to play the hand. And when you do, it's a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Kevin.
I just think at the end of the day, working with AFI, there's a lot of smart people here, and a lot of people in this organization that are truly in it for right reasons. The idea that if you do things for the right reasons, whether it's with your own company or it's with your parent company, greatness attracts greatness, and I think that it's a culture where it's positivity and just being grateful. I would do it again in a heartbeat. There are many, majority of the days I love what I do. You know, and I am thankful for the support that we get from AFI.
Oh, thank you guys. Well, listen, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you being here. And for all of you, thank you so much for being with us. And to continue your discovery process, please reach out to Tim Valencia and schedule your next steps. And I hope you guys have a great remainder of your week. Kelly and Kevin, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate it.
No worries. Hey, if you guys reach out to Valencia, tell him Kay Fehr says hi.
I will.
So you know.
All right, guys. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
Be well.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.